all had the experience of a friend or a loved one coming to us and sharing that they're going through a difficult time and asking us for advice or help making a decision, and just feeling like we have absolutely no idea what we should say or what we shouldn't say. It can be a really tricky situation because I think we get afraid that we're going to overstep our boundaries or end up saying something that makes them feel even worse, which is of course the last thing that we want to do. So today I want to talk about how we can approach these types of conversations in a compassionate but effective way so that we can feel confident that we are being actually helpful to the people that we love when they need it the most. Now, before we even start, we have to remember that people can have different objectives when they come to us. Sometimes all they really want is support and empathy, and other times they are looking for real, tangible solutions to their problems, and that is going to change our approach dramatically. So today I want to talk about both scenarios and offer 5 things that we need to keep in mind if we want to be truly supportive. Now, if we're really not sure what they want, a safe bet is to always start with support and kind of feel out the situation. And if it really starts to seem like they truly are seeking advice, then we can take it from there. But either way, the first thing that we need to do is to create a safe enough space for them to share openly. It is not easy for someone to open up about these things, and when someone is struggling with a tough decision or just going through something really challenging, they're probably also wrestling with a lot of fears and doubts and even shame about what's happening. And that's why it's so important that we provide them with this safe, non-judgmental space so that they can express these emotions. We need to let them know that it's okay to feel conflicted or uncertain. By offering a calm, accepting presence and allowing them to talk as long as they need to, we're not just validating their emotions, we're allowing them to confront their fears and their feelings without feeling criticized. If we keep interrupting them, or we're dismissive, or our face clearly shows that we're judgmental or disapproving in any way, we're just going to end up shutting them down. They're going to withdraw emotionally because it's not going to feel safe to talk to us. And when we act this way, it really can also lead to feelings like anger or embarrassment for them, which of course just ends up adding to their suffering. So that is the first thing. But the next thing is also critical to keep in mind, because when we remember this, it helps us to be more compassionate and understanding, because this really is true for all of us. And that is that logic rarely overrides emotion, even for those of us who are usually highly rational. Every single one of us can struggle when our emotions and our reasoning are pulling us in different directions. So a lot of times when someone feels stuck, it's simply because their emotional responses, whether it be anxiety, disappointment, self-doubt, or guilt, is actually clouding their ability to make a rational decision, even if they do logically kind of know what would be the best way forward. So how can we help? Well, the first thing that we can do is to simply acknowledge that their emotions are valid and real, even when they don't seem to make sense to anyone else or they feel like they shouldn't be feeling that way. We can also remind them that it's normal to feel conflicted, especially when the stakes are so high, and encourage them to sit down and connect with how they feel about what's going on, not just what they think that they should do, because really both are important. And also, it can just be helpful sometimes to listen and kind of reflect their feelings back to them and maybe say something like, "It sounds like you're really torn between what feels right emotionally and what the practical thing would be." These types of responses can validate their emotions. And also being able to hear something like that out loud can allow them to figure out if it really does ring true for them. And if that is the case, it can help them to move forward in a more balanced way. Okay, the next thing that we need to keep in mind is that people often already know the answer to their problem. They just need time to talk through it. Now, this is of course not always true, but many times when people ask for advice, they already have an idea of what they think they should do. So in essence, they're not really asking us to solve the problem, even though they probably framed it that way. They're really just looking for a sounding board to organize their thoughts and hear their own reasoning and to gain confidence in their decision. So when we get clued in that this is really all they're looking for, our job at that point is not to try to provide answers. It is to help them work through the issue themselves. We can offer empathetic looks or a reassuring nod, but if it really does seem like they've come to a reasonable conclusion, then we're only going to complicate the situation if we start interjecting our opinions at that point, because they're going to start to really question and second guess their own opinions. And that brings me to the next thing, which is that sometimes people say they want help, but really they just want support and validation. And again, because we absolutely love these people and we hate seeing them suffer, it's natural that we just kind of jump right into telling them what we think they should do because we want them to stop their suffering. But we have to remember it could be the very last thing that they want. Sometimes people really do just need to be heard and feel like they have someone who can sympathize with them. But that being said, sometimes people really are asking our advice and asking us what we think they should do. And when that clearly is the case, the most important thing to remember is to offer our perspective or guidance without taking over. And that last part is just so important because when they do ask us for advice, we need to present it in a way that respects their need for independence and allows them to ultimately feel like they are the ones that are still making the actual decision. So for example, instead of telling them that we think they should do this one specific thing, we could say something like, well, if I were in your shoes, I would probably end up doing this, and this is the reason for this, but I'm curious to hear how you would feel about doing something like that. This tends to be really effective because we're not really trying to push them in one direction or another. We are offering our perspective, but we're just kind of leaving them space to be able to explore the different possibilities. Again, in the end, the choice really has to be theirs because they are the ones that will have to live with the consequences of this choice. So we just have to keep that boundary in mind, even when we really feel like our advice is the best way to go. We have to remember that the goal isn't to always give them a perfect solution, but to create a space where they can feel heard, validated, and empowered to make the best choice for themselves. So those are my 5 biggest tips, and I really hope that they help you to feel confident the next time someone asks you for help and advice. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, so please leave them down below. I want to thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next video.